If you have a relaxer, you're gonna be bald.
Get some cake and cookies.
Stop playing with me. There are so many black women who have healthy, relaxed hair and they don't have any type of medical conditions because the person who put the relaxer in knew exactly what they were doing. So the myth that all women who have relaxers have breakage and damage and relaxers are damaging. If you have a relaxer and your hair is damaged, or if you have a relaxer and you have any type of health problems, either you or the person who put it in did it wrong. And that's just that on that. I love y'all so much, but I hate to hear it. Here is another woman who has relaxed hair.
Me goosebumps. Like, I don't like it either. So completely fair. Here's my hair combed out and brushed as I go through it section by section on wash day as I'm using my Wet Bear dryer. So this is what my relaxed hair.
My hair looks crazy. But we're going to get it done. So let's go with me. When you relax your hair every 3 months, it is so different from when you relax your hair every single month. If you have tried this before, or if you have increased your relaxer stretches before, I know that you can attest to this. In fact, every single time I have increased the duration of my relaxer stretch, the results I get are always shocking. The last relaxer stretch I did was the 16-month relaxer stretch. That stretch gave me a lot of new growth. And guess what, guys? When I did a length check, when I eventually relaxed my hair, I was at butt length. Like, that was the longest my hair has ever been since I started my hair growth journey. When you relax your hair every 3 months.
So again, just like we talked about in the last video about wigs and weaves and things of that nature and how they're so damaging and all of that stuff, it's BS. Because if wigs and relaxers and all of the things are so damaging, why are there women with 1000% healthy hair? And somebody said, nope, I will not relax my hair. Girl, I need all black women to get a freaking grip. That's just like going to a restaurant and hearing the person next to you, let's say you don't eat pork, and then the person next to you orders, let's say you at Yard House out here in Vegas and you order mac and cheese squared, and that's like somebody saying, oh, but can you put extra bacon? That's like you being like, I don't eat pork. I ain't gonna never eat pork. I ain't having no extra bacon in my. Nobody asked you. This is her dinner. This is her plate. Nobody gives a shit if you don't like bacon. And that's how y'all are. It's so annoying. Okay, y'all don't want to relax y'all hair. Y'all believe the hype, or y'all don't, whatever the case may be. Nobody cares. Keep going. As an ovarian cancer survivor, you shouldn't relax your hair. It's bullshit. Y'all didn't really read the full study, and I have a whole video series about it. None of you actually read the studies. Y'all listened to what them people had to say online about ovarian cancer, and y'all isolated it towards relaxers, where in reality, when you go look at the actual study, they were talking about keratin treatments. And you know what's funny? While y'all demonizing relaxers, the majority of y'all are going and getting keratin treatments. But the original lawsuit, the original findings were for the formaldehyde and all of the things that it releases. It didn't have anything to do with relaxers. And the portion within the study that was about relaxers, the woman that was in the study, she clearly said, and I have a video of her saying it out of her mouth, that the only people that it was a small select study, a small select group, and everything was self-reported. These women did everything on their own, and it was with box relaxers that were done the wrong way. And the key point of the entire study was that it was only through abrasions, only through open pathways in the skin that people were getting all of these absorbed chemicals that eventually, if constantly absorbed into the scalp, leads to ovarian cancer. But it's ridiculous. Oh, so you use a relaxer, you get ovarian cancer. It's not true. And if you want to argue argue with your mama. I have the link in the description box below with the full course and the full section that I've done on the study, along with the blog posts that have all of the cited medical studies attached to it. It's BS. And y'all keep repeating it for nothing, because look at this woman, this beautiful chocolatey woman with this long, healthy, relaxed hair with no bald spots. And I'm pretty sure this woman's in perfect health. Here we go again. Here we go again. What is she doing? She's basing her scalp. And the thing is, I always tell y'all not to grease the scalp. Why? Because it blocks the pores and it creates an occlusive layer. So that's why she's adding it to the scalp, because she's creating an occlusive layer so that the chemical that she's putting on her scalp will not penetrate. So the things that, oh, it's ovarian cancer and all of that stuff, that happens if it's absorbed into the skin. Because of her patterns and routines, it's never absorbed into the skin. So here we have another Black woman with healthy, relaxed hair. You find a woman with damaged, relaxed hair, you found a woman who put it in wrong, who doesn't have proper upkeep and maintenance. And that is a fact.
Now, how I grew my hair from this to this. So I feel like a lot of people ask me about my hair, you know, how I'm able to retain length and how it's so full. Most people say, oh no, you're lucky, it's genetic. Some of the things that I had to really understand.
And the hardest part about videos like this is if you're sitting here and if you have the time to film it, put the video in your phone, edit the clip, put a sound over it, you couldn't say, hey, can you only relax my roots? You couldn't have said that. Y'all are so annoying, and I'm sorry. I guess after the vid and stuff like that, it's like, oh yeah, people don't know how to talk. I don't care. There is a reason why you should only go to certain types of hair salons. You probably should have checked the reviews before you just walked in. And if you know that somebody's in your head doing something you're not supposed to do, you should tell them to stop. I'm just saying.
Simple when you can look stunning.
She said, relaxing my hair is the best decision I've ever made. Yep, go ahead, part it down the middle for the children. Once again, I'm just trying to figure out where all this damaged, relaxed hair is. Like, where is it at? Because we haven't seen it yet. Where's the relaxed hair coming? Where's the damage coming from?
So
Wet, relaxed
here it is, folks, in all of its wet glory. Here it is, from root to tip, soaking wet after a wash day. I got some questions on whether or not it would curl up if I added mousse, on whether or not it would curly when wet. So I hope this answers your question. Everyone wants to know what my relaxed hair looks like.
Are we done? Are we done or are we done? I think we could do a couple more, because I just want to be done having this conversation. Like, oh, relaxers are bad. No, they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not. Because if that was the case, collectively, everybody who has one would be bald. And that's not what we're seeing. That's just not what we're seeing.
It's such a situation.
Again, we have another one. A Black woman with long, beautiful, thick, healthy hair. You all are full of BS. There is no bigger level of fear mongering than within the Black community, because if you are going to somebody who knows how to relax hair properly with your relaxer, you will not have damage. You will not have cancer. That is not true. Y'all, again, y'all watch little bits and pieces of things, and then y'all make that Bible verse without doing any research for yourselves. And it's ridiculous. Back to the creamy crack, she said. Looks beautiful. Are we? I at this point, it's, and I think the craziest part to me about the whole conversation is the simple fact that so many people are still having this conversation. So many people are still having this conversation as if women with relaxed hair, as if Black women who wear their hair straight have damaged hair. Why are we still having this conversation? Why are we having this conversation as if the only Black women on earth that have healthy hair are women who don't have relaxers? That's not true. And this isn't shaming anybody who chooses not to relax their hair. But if somebody chooses to relax their hair, it's not a place where you should come in and try to fight it. No, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to do this. It's bullshit, y'all. Y'all just repeat stuff over and over and over again. Over and over again. She said, I will always thank my mother for perming, relaxing my hair at 6 years old. Relaxed hair is still healthy hair. And a lot of people why would you say that? Why would you say that? You're wrong. You don't love yourself. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. This woman has beautiful, healthy hair, whether relaxed or natural. And a lot of people won't like what I have to say, but the majority of Black women with damaged hair are women who claim to be team natural. That's not saying that the only women who have healthy hair are women with a relaxer. That's not what I'm saying, because you can have really, really kinky, curly hair and still come out with your hair looking really, really good, really amazing. That's not a thing. But to just, oh my God, relaxers are so bad, it's BS. Because here's another one. Like, we could literally do this forever. Forever. Officially 1 year since I became a relaxed girly. Your relaxed hair can grow plus be healthy, and it's not too late to start. And guess what? If you decide to relax your hair, you are not a self-hating Black woman, regardless of what anybody has to say. What are we talking about? Let me see.
Totally fine. But if you think your hair is going to be as low maintenance as it looks, your hair is going to be on the floor. There's a routine. You decided to relax your hair, and that's totally fine. But if you think your hair is going to be as low maintenance as it looks, your hair is going to be on the floor. There's a routine that you should be following that is Justin Revenge approved if you have relaxed hair. Let's start off with the fact that you have to shampoo and deep condition every week. So that's the bottom line. Let's still a little lotion first because.
Okay, so I'm gonna move on because that's not true. Most of my clients who had relaxed hair, they came every 2 weeks. And as long as you wrapping your hair every night before you go to bed, and Biolage is one of the most booty products on the market, we about to keep going. I don't want to hear nothing this man got to say. After you did a hot oil treatment, washed and conditioned, blew out your 4C hair. Listen, what are we talking about? Why do we have to keep having these conversations? My relaxed hair growth from June until now. Can we all shut up? Can everybody just shut up and drive? Shut up and drive. Proof that relaxed hair can grow. And then look at her comments. All of the comments, I'm getting there. She's relaxed. She's relaxed. She's relaxed. What the fuck? What are we talking about? Look at the women in the comments. You need to do something else. But look at all of these. What are we talking about? Y'all are annoying as hell.
Healthy, relaxed hair this year. So consider this my progress video. I've been on such a long journey with my hair for the past 2 years, but
You better show it. You better show the progress, girl. You better show it. Yeah. Yeah. What are we talking about? Girl, I think you missed a piece in the back. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Girl, all y'all can stop playing with me. All y'all can stop playing with me. Nope. So all of my weaves are bad, relaxers are bad, bandits. I need you to stick it in your pocket and lock it.
So today we're going to unpack hair relaxers, Black women and uterine cancer, the truth behind the studies. Everybody online is saying relaxers cause cancer, but that's not the full story. In this lecture, I will break down the real science behind chemical hair straighteners, Black women's health, and uterine cancer study that is all over the internet that most of y'all never read. Over 44,000 women were followed over 22 years, and only 347 were diagnosed. That's less than 1%. So why is the internet acting like every relaxer is a death sentence? Let's talk about what the study actually said, what it did not test, how things like diet, estrogen balance, vitamin D, and lifestyle might be part of the bigger picture. Now, again, make sure you head over to my website because I have a video that touches on every topic. So most people want to know the difference between a relaxer and a keratin treatment, all of the things. Head over to my channel. I have everything that you need, right? But this video is going to cover the truth about Black women's hair health and that study and what they really found, how diet, environmental, and hormonal different things affect the uterine cancer risk, and why the correlation isn't causation, and what that actually means for your hair care routine. And lastly, we're going to talk about how to make safer, smarter decisions with relaxed or virgin hair, because your hair is natural if it's coming out of your scalp. The only time your hair is not natural is if you have a weave in your head, because baby, that hair didn't grow in your gut, honey, it grew in somebody else's. All right. So what the major study did measure, let's break that down. So the 2022 large study by the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, they followed 33,000 U.S. women with reported using chemical hair straightener products, which included relaxers and straighteners. This is the thing. Everybody that heard about this study, you all think that they're only talking about relaxers. This study specifically, it never specifically says relaxers going from curly to straight. This study is talking about chemical straighteners. Period. Somebody type chemical straighteners in the chat. That study found that women who use straightening products more than 4 times in the previous year had over 2 times the risk of uterine cancer compared to women who didn't. Right? But I need you to remember how many women they were doing this study on. And remember the number that I gave you at the beginning, but we'll get back to that in a minute. Another study, and the Black Women's Healthcare Study, followed 44,800 Black women for up to 22 years, and found among post-menopausal women that long-term frequently uses chemical hair relaxers were associated with increased uterine cancer risk, right? And then the hazardous ratio was up higher than normal. But again, these are all self-reporting women. They didn't test anybody. These are all things that they're reading from like the Jet magazine, or those magazines that a lot of Black women used to get that they would look at while they were on the toilet. And when they filled out the questionnaire, they were just checking boxes and sending it back in for another free subscription. Both of these studies mentioned that the association is with chemical hair straightening products, often described as straighteners or relaxers, but they did not collect detailed ingredient lists or the products that were used. So for example, the studies that led in certain states, the researchers did not collect information on brands or ingredients in the hair care products that the women use. All studies show, and read it. Don't get offended when I say this. The majority of people that are going based on this, the majority of people that are always talking about how relaxers cause cancer, I can guarantee you none of you have ever actually read the study, because when you actually read the study, it never specifically says relaxers. Never. It's chemical straighteners in general. So, what the studies did not specifically show and what the confusion is about. Neither study specifically broke down risk by lye, sodium hydroxide versus no lye. They didn't do anything of that nature. They didn't talk about any specific chemicals in the formula, right? So I didn't find any credible evidence in those main publications that they isolated lye versus no lye relaxer as a subgroup breakdown. Like they never just specifically said, okay, this is relaxers. Let's talk about relaxers. And relaxers specifically cause cancer. Absolutely not. All chemical straighteners, including the keratin treatments, all of y'all are getting the keratin treatments. If y'all want to say relaxers cause cancer, so do keratin treatments. This study was focused on chemical straighteners, period. The studies talk about chemical straighteners plus relaxing products in broad terms. They flag chemicals like studies talk about chemical hair straighteners and relaxing product in very, very broad terms, right? They flag certain chemicals, but they're not just naming relaxers and the breakdown of relaxers as the entire cause and as the main culprit. That is not what this study showed, right? Because ingredients data is missing, because nobody ever reported the ingredients, nobody ever reported the brands of the relaxers that they were using. They just reported the frequency in which they use relaxers and if whether or not they did. We could say from those studies, the lye formula specifically caused a higher risk, or only non-lye relaxer formulas are safe. The data just doesn't allow that claim. You, as a scientist, you can't make that claim because there was not one report of an exact product. There was not one report that specifically stated a specific product or a specific ingredient as the thing that causes the cancer. Again, y'all gonna get tired of me saying it. They were only talking about chemical straighteners in general, not lye or lye relaxer, no lye relaxer. No, it didn't happen. So some of the spread in social media is incorrectly saying that lye relaxers were excluded from the rest of the study and only keratin straighteners and keratin treatments and things of that nature. While I definitely didn't find a statement that explicitly excludes lye formulas, the big missing ingredient information means that we do not know. So that's why when everybody's like, oh, don't pay attention to the science, like scientists are somehow evil. To me, scientists, unless they are just a dusty scientist, are some of the most honest people ever, because we will just say, I don't know. It is a lie. We do not know which one out of relaxers, keratin treatments, silk amino treatments, all of those. Nobody knows which one out of any of those specifically caused this uptake. But let's keep going. All right. Because also the term keratin treatments may be conflated with straighteners, relaxers, but those often have different chemical mechanisms, right? Some release formaldehyde when heated, right? But the studies refer to chemical straighteners, relaxers, and straightening products rather than specifically keratin treatments. And before they had to change it. And the thing about that's tricky is originally it was called Brazilian straightening. right? Or Brazilian blowout. And the way that it was marketed was as a straightener. But when the formaldehyde claims came out, they ended up just changing it to an overall keratin treatment. And in that sense, they can still use the same type of products. It can still have the same type of effects, but it's not marketed in that way, right? So watch this video. I break it down. We actually read some of the studies together. I've went over all of these things, right? So what is my verdict, right? It's accurate to say studies show an association between frequent use of chemical hair straighteners and relaxing products and increased uterine cancer risk, right? It's less accurate to say the study proved that lye formulas are safe or that non-lye relaxer formulations are the only ones that carry risk. That goes beyond the data because, again, for the studies, nobody knows what products and what chemicals these women were using. They were self-reported with no studies. So, for conversation's sake and for content, right? Let's emphasize that the studies actually show and mention the gaps in the ingredients, the lye versus no lye, and all of the things. These are the things that we need to think about. And make sure you watch all of these videos. I've broken this down in so much detail. So now that you have this data, what were they missing? Number one, we had no ingredient level data. They did not collect ingredient information or brand names of the relaxers, the straighteners that the women use. So they cannot tell whether or not the products were lye or sodium hydroxide, no lye. They couldn't tell. Nobody knew. And they couldn't tell whether or not they contained formaldehyde or paraffins and all of the things. Nobody knows. Even any of those things that disrupt the things in the body that ended up leading to the disruption in your hormones that would lead to something like uterine cancer, there were never any tests and any ingredient data that could reflect that. Because again, nobody reported that. And if the exposure changed over time, brand reformulation and consistency, because again, they just knew the frequency in which they relaxed their hair. They didn't know what type of relaxers that they used. They didn't know anything. So why does this matter? Without an ingredient list, the study cannot identify which specific chemical exposures that you were made open to. So what's driving the risk in real life? Only that chemical straightener use overall is going to be linked up with somebody getting cancer, but nobody ever knew what type of relaxers they use, none of the things. The number two, self-reported use patterns. Participants self-reported their use of relaxers over time. Things like how often they used it, the years of use and the frequency, when they started, whether it was in childhood or adulthood, whether they used it in the last 12 months, why it matters, right? These are the things that really matter because self-reports are subject to recall bias. Some participants may misremember their usage frequency or the timing, especially over 20 plus years. So I need y'all to understand that when we're talking about, oh, relaxers cause cancer and all of the things, y'all are basing this conversation over a group of a couple thousand, well, over about anywhere between 35 to 44,000, let's just say 45,000 women over a 20-year period. And we're making all of our decisions based on the things that they could remember when they were sitting on the toilet, because that's where the questionnaire was. It was in a magazine. So these are the things you need to think about. Number three, no biomarker confirmation. They did not collect any biological samples to measure exposure, like testing blood, urine, or hair for any of the things that they're claiming that relaxers leave behind. They never tested anybody, ever. So for everybody's, well, relaxers cause cancer. So they couldn't verify how much of the chemicals actually enter the body They just inferred, just made an educated guess that this exposure for the usage is what caused it when those are the patterns. And they grouped, and number 4 is they group relaxers broadly. All of y'all, oh, the study shows relaxers cause cancer. No, it doesn't. The study does not show that, and I can guarantee you, y'all gonna take this the wrong way. Some of y'all don't even read the directions on the back of the bottle, so I know y'all didn't read a 200-page peer-reviewed study. I know you didn't, because if you did, nobody would ever say this. The survey question did not distinguish between traditional relaxers, lye or no lye. It didn't distinguish between keratin or Brazilian blowout type treatments. And it didn't talk about thermal reconditioning systems. Because all 4 of these things are different. It never told what the difference was. It just said all together. Chemical straighteners, and it grouped all of these together. All of the things that you're using as a substitute for a relaxer, because relaxers cause cancer, were also in the study too. So all of them were lumped together as chemical straighteners. So the mechanisms of action is all different, and it wasn't separated. It wasn't separated between alkaline bond breaking versus heat activated formaldehyde systems. It wasn't, none of them were separated. Everything was linked together. Number 5, no direct scalp injury or burn data. The BWHS acknowledged that burns or lesions could enhance absorption of chemicals, but they did not collect detailed information on how often participants experience scalp burns or irritation. And that's important because frequent burns equals more chemical absorption, which equals a higher rate for that risk. And this is the thing, what y'all missed out on, and I'll have this video, I'll play it probably in a live, or if y'all watch all of these videos that's listed in there, I play that clip. And one of the scientists that wrote this article in the first place clearly stated, like, hey, the chemical burns and stuff like that, it only happens if the relaxer is put on the scalp that is not properly protected. And the only way that these chemicals are going to get into the skin if there are any cuts, burns, or lesions already present, meaning if you have a scab on your scalp, before you get a relaxer, absolutely it's going to absorb into the bloodstream, it's going to cause these things. But if you don't have, if the stratum corneum, if that top layer of skin is not disrupted, nothing is going to happen. Because there are women who have healthy, relaxed hair. Number 5, they had limited control for cold exposures. They did not adjust for lifestyles, BMI, any of these things. All of these other risk factors, they never took any of them into consideration, but they couldn't fully control that. They couldn't fully control their study for other personal care product exposures like lotions and fragrances, environmental toxins, medical conditions, or hormonal therapy history beyond what was reported. They didn't know anything. And the small number of uterine cancer cases is another thing that, as a research scientist, makes me do my own research and completely throw this study out, because even over 22 years, think about this. Those are 2 different isolated groups. One group that did 30,000, 35,000 women, another group that did 45,000 women over 22 years. And out of all of those women, even over 22 years, only 347 developed uterine cancer. Listen, that's a lot of people. That's not even 20%. 347 women develop uterine cancer. That's enough to detect an association, but it's not enough for you to confidently break it down by every subgroup, like lives versus no lives, or relaxers, or childhood start versus adult start. It's not enough information. It's not. And that this will get thrown out of any scientific lab. It is BS. So go ahead, and if you want to watch the full lecture, you can click this link right here. But when we break it down into categories, we can look at what they actually collected. So the product use, yeah, they collected the product use. They collected the frequency, the duration, and the age that they started it. But they didn't have any brand or any ingredients or any information. The biological exposure, no, they have no idea, and they have no chemical biomarkers. The hair treatment types, they have no idea, because all groups were like chemical straighteners, everything was grouped all together. So they have absolutely no idea of whether or not these women were using relaxers or keratin treatments. They have no idea. And the scalp health, they have no idea. And they didn't track burns or sores because they never did any in-person testing on any of these women. And they never did any type of outcome ver- uh, verification. Yes, sometimes they did, but for the most part, absolutely not. There's no data that any scientist can just sit here and research and pull up. And then the cancer risk factor, yes, BMI, hormones, etc. But not all lifestyle and environmental co-exposures. Nobody paid attention to that. So when you hear people say they didn't study live, what they're actually saying is they didn't collect product level ingredient data so they can confirm or exclude live formulas, keratin treatments, or anything individually. So let's talk for a second, because everybody's always yelling that relaxers cause cancer, but nobody is talking about how the same women in those studies were eating those old magazine recipes that they told us to cook in the back of them. They gave all those recipes, baby. And the stuff Big Mama cooked, it led to cancer just like relaxers did. Those studies follow Black women from the 90s. Essence readers. Remember Essence in the 90s? I was born in 1990. We was frying everything in Crisco, heavy sauces, light on the veggies, just a little light, and hitting that salad every few weeks. That lifestyle is not just for hair. It's not, you can't just blame all of this on hair. So yeah, scientists found a link between chemical straighteners and uterine cancers, but a link does not mean that it's the cause. They never said it was the cause. They said they found a link, and then y'all looked at it and just ran with it, and y'all been making it a Bible verse. They didn't test the products. They didn't test the women's blood, just surveys. And if your diet is full of estrogen boosting foods, low vitamin D, plus everyday exposures from plastics, perfumes, and cooking oils, baby, that's a whole mix of things feeding the same exact issue. So how can you put it all on relaxers? So no, it ain't fair to dump all or everything on relaxers, because it's way bigger than that. It's diet, environment, ingredients, and habits. And until the test is real and for real, all we can do is stay informed, eat cleaner, read our labels, and protect our scalps. Because nothing goes on the scalp but shampoo. That's how we move smarter, not scared. And everybody wants a source. Oh, I love a source. Okay, so click the links below. Actually read the study and read through all of these journals for yourself. Collect the information for yourself. These are verified sources, right? And here are some of the doctors and some of the scientists. It's not broken down to scare you, but instead of you guys constantly spreading the same rumors and the same lies and the same type of fear mongering tactics on women, why don't we start having real life conversations? Let's have a real conversation about relaxers. So in my next video that you'll see later on today, or one that you seen earlier, I'm going to give you a visual representation of everything that I've been saying. Yes, some women that do relaxers wrong, absolutely their hair is damaged and falling out of their head. But just because one person did it the wrong way does not mean that relaxers themselves are damaging. Just because somebody put a weave in the wrong way doesn't mean that weaves are bad. And I'm not, oh, pro relaxer. I want everybody to have a relaxer. Absolutely not, because contrary to popular opinion, when I was here on YouTube making hair videos and things of that nature, because I was behind the chair, I'm retired now, so I'm not doing that. But when I was making hair videos and standing behind the chair, all of my clients were natural. All of my clients had virgin hair. None of my clients had relaxers except for the ones that had pixie cuts like me. At every blue moon, I would have a client that had long hair that wanted me to relax her hair, but all of my clients had relaxed hair. So what we're not gonna do is sit here and be like, oh, Susan doesn't know, she's only pro relaxer. She's pro relaxer. Well, to end this, would somebody who's pro relaxer be able to produce something that looks like this?